Okay, hi everyone. Today we're going to talk about factoring. Now, you've talked about factoring in 4th grade, 5th grade, and 6th grade, and guess what? We're going to do it again in 7th grade. But let's remember what factors are. Remember, factors are what we multiply to get a product. So if I multiply 3 times 4 to equal 12, 3 and 4 are my products. Sorry, not my products. Oops, my factors. And if I wanted to list the factors of 12, my factors of 12 are 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. Remember, you made the little rainbows and then you connected them with the little lines, and you called them factor rainbows. Well, we're going to use this idea of factors in regards to algebra now and simplifying terms and what we've been looking at. So, let's jump right in here. Let's look at 3a plus 21. When we work with factoring, we want to start by listing the factors of the two terms. So, my first term is 3a, and the factors of 3a are just going to be 1, 3, and a. Plus 1 and 3 together, 1 times 3 is 3, and 1 times 3 times a is 3a. Now, for 21, my factors for 21 are 1 and 21, 3 and 7. And I'm going to look for the common factors. What are my common factors? What do they have in common? Well, they have a 1 in common, and they have the 3 in common. Dividing by 1, not very helpful. But the 3 in common, I can divide both terms by 3. So I want to put what I'm going to divide by outside parentheses. And then I divide each term. So 3a divided by 3, 3a divided by 3 equals a. I keep the sign, plus, and 21 divided by 3 equals 7, plus 7. And you can always check if your factoring worked out properly by using the distributive property. So the distributive property is the opposite of factoring. Because if I was to use the distributive property on this, I would get 3a plus 21, which is what our original problem was. Let's try another problem here. Let's look at y to the third plus 3y. Again, I'm going to see what factors they have in common. Y to the third is basically made up of y times y, and 3y is 1, 3, and y. Well, the only term they have in common is y and y. So let's pull that y out. Why? Because I said so. Okay, bad joke, I apologize. Well, if I take 1y away from 3y to the third, I'm left with only 2y's. So y to the squared plus, if I take 1y away from 3y, all I'm left with is 3. So that's my answer. Let's get a little more complicated. How does that sound? Okay, let's look at negative 16x plus 20x to the fifth. Okay, a lot going on here. First of all, let's look at that negative 16x. Well, negative 16x can be negative 1, 16, 2, and 8, and 4. And any of these can be negatives. So we're going to think about that negative in a moment. So, I'm going to erase it for now. And we'll get back to that negative in a second. And x. And as for 20x to the fifth, we're going to have to go on to another line for this one. It's 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5, and 5 x's. Remember, that's what that exponent tells us. So let's see, what do we have in common? Well, I have 1x, 1x. Oh, I have a 2 and a 4 in common. So what should I choose? Well, I want to always factor using the biggest number possible. So I'm going to take the 4, because 4 is larger than 2. Okay, so I'm going to factor out the 4. My 4 is factored out. And I also have the x, so I can factor out 4x. Now, negative 16 divided by 4 is negative 4. I don't have my x, I factored out my x. Plus 20 divided by 4 is 5. X to the fifth divided by x is x to the fourth. And that is my answer. So see how this is a little more complicated? We're factoring out more items each time. Okay, let's look at one more problem before you try some of these on your own. Let's look at 5x squared y plus 15xy squared. Okay, we're going to again start by listing our factors. 5x squared y. I have 1, 5, x, y. And for 15xy squared, I have 1, 15, 3, 5, x, y, y. Let's find our common terms. 5 and 5, x and x, y and y. Okay, let's see what's left over now. When I divide by my common terms for my 5x squared y, all I'm left with is x. Oh, wait, we have to pull out what we're factoring out. 5xy. All that's left in my first term is x. And all that's left in my second term is 3y. And that's it. Doesn't look too bad. Now, if you can do the factoring out in your head without listing the factors, you can. Totally okay. If you want to write out the factors, you can do that too. Whatever makes this easier for you. Okay, let's do some problems on your own. Let's look at number 1. 13n plus 39. Again, just write the final answer. You don't have to list all the factors. Just the final answer in the box when it appears. The common factor is 13. I'm going to pull that out. N plus 3 is my answer. Number 2, 21xy plus 49xy squared. And try it on your own. The answer will appear in a few moments. Okay, the common terms are 7xy. This is why in third grade we tell you knowing your multiplication tables is important. Here's a good example why. It's easier to pull out your factors if you know your multiplication. I know the only factors of 49 are 1, 7, and 49. And if 7 is a factor of 49, maybe it's also a factor of 21, which we know it is. So again, those multiplication tables, if you don't know your facts, you might want to study them. So my first term, all that's left is 3. My second term, I'm left with 7y. Because I have 2 y's here. I pulled one out, I have to keep the last one in. Number 3 is going to be 9a squared plus 5a. When the box appears, put your answer in. The only term they have in common is a. So 9a plus 5 is my answer. And the last one, number 4, 25a squared b squared c to the third minus 15a b to the third c. Lot going on here. Again, when the box shows up, put your answer in. Okay, 5 is going to be the common factor. I have 1a, 2 b's, and 1 c. That's going to be the common factor. When I divide my first term, I get 5ac squared minus 3b. If you have any questions on these, you can either email me or we can go over these tomorrow in class. I'm going to see how everyone does. And good luck. Have a great night.